Hello and welcome to u.gov, where it's all about you and the government. U.gov seeks to amplify government activities and functions vis-a-vis citizens' rights and obligations. I am Priscilla and I'll be standing in for Itoha Olomu-Agbodo. Well, we'll go on a short break now, and when I return, I'll tell you more about this topic. Stay tuned.
Love Plus app is bigger and better. Watch all our shows with just a click.
Let him have the right to decide what happens with your body.
Watch inspiring, informative, and entertaining programs. You can comment, like, and share. Watch our live TV and web TV on your mobile devices. Watch the big stories in real time or when you have the time. Experience Love Plus app right now. Download Love Plus app on Android, iOS, and BlackBerry. Go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, or Windows Phone Store. Welcome to the bigger picture. Love Plus, beyond television. With every story comes an inside story, shaping thoughts, opinions, and driving the conversation. Nations, governments, economies, and even the environment. The causes, consequences, or benefits. The analysis makes it clear. We take a close look at every possible angle. No matter the story, we take you inside the news.
Inside the News, showing on the station.
Welcome back. It's still u.gov, where it's all about you and the government. Well, last week we talked about the judiciary arm of government, and this week we will be looking more at the state government. What is the state government about? What are the components of a state government? What is the responsibility of a state government to its citizens? These and more questions would our respondents be responding to. Well, I have two respondents responding to these questions. I have a barrister, Eze, and also Mr. Taiwo Adedeji to respond to these questions. So stay tuned and you will meet them. Okay, it's good to have you here, sir.
It's my pleasure, Madam.
Okay, so going straight to the point, we're talking about state government. So, what is state government?
Well, the question of what a state government is can only be understood if you understand what a government is in the first place, because state government is not an abstract concept. The issue of a state government also only comes into being when you look at the federal system, because of the federal structure of the society, like a country like Nigeria or United States of America. That is where you see state government are being regularly used. Government in itself, ordinarily in the very elementary definition, is in form of a structure, a group of people that actually administer the society, the administrators. You can use it, the administrator of the people of the society are known as government, those who administer the society.
What are the different arms or organs of state government?
Government is an institution, so the governing law that sets up the existing government, that is what determines the structure, the organs, like we have in our own society, in our peculiar system, also common, which is applicable to many other countries or society. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. So they have different functions. Of course, everyone knows that it is the executive that initiates policy, the legislators are the lawmakers, and the judiciary interprets the law that are made by the legislators. Okay. So those are the essential organs of government.
What is the responsibility of a state government to its citizens?
Like I've earlier said, this thing is defined in a federal system. That is when you have different component units of government. They are equal ordinarily, but because of the nature of the federal system, we have a central government, otherwise called the federal government, and we have the state government. Also in some, like in the old First Republic Constitution in Nigeria under the 1960 and the 1963 Constitution, They used to be known as regional governments. So that is the equivalent of what we now have as state government, because after they've been broken down into different other component units. So the relationship is that you have a central government that has a kind of jurisdiction over all parts of the country, all parts of the federation. And we have state government that has a kind of restrictive jurisdiction, restrictive sphere of influence. Like now, the governor of Lagos State now is Mr. Olomu-Agbodo. All the sphere of influence and authority cannot extend beyond where we have the boundary between Lagos and Ogun State. Okay. And we have a governor Amosu, Ibikunle Amosu, whose jurisdiction and sphere of influence and authority also starts from that particular point. So now we have the federal government, the central government. So the state relates with the federal government as part of the component unit. And we also have a local government. Local government is otherwise known as the third tier of government. Okay. They exist at the local level because the idea behind the local government creation in itself is to bring government closer to the people. Because if we are not running a unitary system or over-centralized government, if you had created a state, the agitators for local government also believe that it was a proper wisdom for us to also have a local government, because if states have been created to bring government closer to the people, because like in those days when we used to have a regional system in Nigeria, like we have all these places, like all these Ogun or Oyo, practically including many parts of Lagos up to Mushin used to be under the old western region. Okay. And then the capital was in Ibadan. But people believe that the government at Ibadan is too far. It's too that the regional system is too wide, it's too big to be closer to the people at the grassroots level. So that's what informed the creation of states in the first instance under the government, the leadership of General Yakubu Gowon, the military government then, and we started having states. Later, the states were also broken down into different, units. Like we have 19 state structure at a point. I think Nigeria has, at a point we have 21. Now we have a 36 state structure, excluding the federal capital, territory. Okay. So that the essence is to create a kind of system that will bring government closer to the people. Everything, we don't have a separate. When it comes to, we have the same responsibility. Federal, state, and local government have the same responsibility, which is to protect the interests of the people they are leading. It is a leadership position at different strata, at different level. But we talk about different kind of functions in relation to what the law have provided. Like the law has defined the function of the federal government, for instance. The law has also defined the function of the state government and their power, the extent of their power.
What is the responsibility of a state government to its citizens?
To provide for the welfare of the citizens, to organize the society. Now, these functions are now delimited by certain laws, like issues like of external affairs, defense. They are within the exclusive, jurisdiction of the federal government. There's no state government that can, for instance, create where they are related. We have State Ministry of Education, we have Federal Ministry of Education. But we cannot have a State Ministry of Defense, for instance. We cannot have State Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is not possible. Those are exclusive preserve of the federal government.
Even though we have state police?
No, we don't even have state police in Nigeria. We only have police being controlled by the federal government, but who also exist at the state level. We have only Nigerian police. We have only Nigerian police. That is why the Commissioner for Police is an appointee of the Inspector General of Police. Okay. And that is why you can see someone who has been a commissioner, I think a former commissioner of police in Lagos State, later became an IG of police. Mike Okiro was there as the commissioner for police before. I think MD Abubakar was there as commissioner of police, and later they became Inspector General of Police. So that we have even we have this interrelationship even in the judicial system. We've had judges at state level under the payroll of the state government. Some of them are elevated to Court of Appeal at the federal level, and Court of Appeal is being administered administratively by the federal government. Some of them became judges of Supreme Court. We've had several instances. So they have these interwoven functions. So there are no, but the ones that are common, or you can say maybe peculiar to the state, or someone maybe the issue of traffic control, for instance, environmental sanitation and management, things like that are within the preserve of the state. They are within the sphere, or they are things that state can actually administer without needing the federal government, and every other function except the ones that are restricted constitutionally. We have State Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Commerce, and one important role of the state is also the issue of housing, organization of the society. Like by the provision of the Land Use Act of 1978, it has given the state governors a lot of power. Even though Land Use Act is a federal legislation, but it has made the state governor, the governor of every state, the landlord of everybody in the state. So the functions are not, they are mutually exclusive ones, but the functions are most of the time interwoven. So the function of the state government, the function, so the state basically, the defining, meaning of function of state government, or is the function of government in the first place. That is to provide for the need, the basic needs of the citizens. So, and when the government is not doing that, when you say, well, the government is not performing its function, whether at the state or at the local level. Well, the first obligation you have to your state government is to be a law-abiding citizen in the first place. That's the general obligation. And the other obligation, mostly related are maybe issues like payment of tax, 6. Then you perform your civic obligation when you don't see government as we and they, and them, we or we and them, because which is the mentality that which most of the citizens also see government, that you are part of the government, because democracy in the first place, in its elementary definition, has been defined as the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So everyone has a role to play in the whole governance structure in the first place. So it is not as if we have a government as a class that is detached, or that should be detached. Ideally, government is part of the people. The only thing is that we are playing different roles. So the civic responsibility that you have is maybe, of course, to be law-abiding citizen, be part of the governance process, and where you can become part of it is in choosing your leadership, because we have been given a very important role. So Nigerians, we elect our leaders. We are supposed to be electing our leaders. So, but when we are not playing that role, when we say a citizen has failed, or if a citizen is failing in its obligation, so those are the essential obligations of when you payment of tax and of course patriotism is not an abstract philosophical concept. It is actually something that is tied to something that where you are a citizen existing under the leadership of government, and you have your role to play. Like for instance, you don't see government as constituting a class. That is why it is very unpatriotic of a citizen to just maybe to participate in environmental degradation of the society or nuisance. Well, it is not my business. So we are supposed to have civic responsibility. Everybody should be involved, even in the security. Government is not omniscience or omnipresent in security situation. Citizens are supposed to also participate in making appropriate report to appropriate quarters where you see the society being threatened security-wise. So that is why government, the citizens also have role to play in the concept. Where the characteristics are actually what is defined in the law. Like as has been said, a state cannot go outside what has been defined in the law. Of course, we know if you look at some maybe abstract concept, or there are some elementary things, you know that it is or trivial. It's only in the states that we use word like governor. You know, like the chairman of a local government, for instance, cannot call himself a governor. So you only use things like that in the states. It's only in the state that you have you have commissioners. You know, we don't have that at the level. Even there are people who will become maybe doing the similar function, performing similar function. They won't call them commissioners at the level of local government. So you can't have that. Even at the federal level, they are known as ministers. Even though they are performing basically the same functions, they are members of the executive council. At the federal level, they are known as ministers, but at the state level, they are known as commissioners. So those are some of the distinguishing factors. You know, otherwise, many other things are interwoven, you know, between the federal and the state governments.
Well, it's been wonderful having you on the show. You've enlightened us indeed on the topic state government. Thank you very much for having us.
Always welcome. My pleasure.
Well, you're still watching you.gov, where it's all about you and the government. I've been talking to Mr. Taiwo Adedeji on the topic state government. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, more.
The talk never stops, whether politics, leadership, or economies in Africa. The issues, the facts, and all the sides. Your views matter. Let's discuss. Join us on The Agenda, showing only on Love World Plus.
A state government is a tier of government outside the federal structure where you have a federal system of government. In some climes it is called provincial government. In some climes it is called regional government. So where you have a non-federal structure, maybe a unitary structure, you still have the national government and you have the regional government. But in the case of Nigeria, we have the federal government as a tier of government, as a division, and we have the state government. So these are the major divisions of the government in Nigeria. The Constitution regards it as the Federation of Nigeria. So when you want to talk about the Federation of Nigeria, you talk about the federal government, the state government, and the local government. The state government has varied functions, and it includes taking decisions within its area of jurisdiction. For instance, within a state, if you take the issue of education, the state has state schools. The state has to cater for teachers within those schools, establishment of those schools, structure, everything about education within. Can even establish a state university, and that's why many states have state universities. But in making laws, the State House of Assembly will not make law to impinge the existence of federal schools or federal management of federal education within that state. So to that extent in education, you can now know the function of states. So if something has to do with primary schools, you want to open a private primary school or nursery, kindergarten, you don't need to go to Federal Ministry of Education. You just go to State Ministry of Education. So if you want to engage in road construction, you want to complain about road construction, any road from one state that extrapolates to another state is a federal road. And within a road, you have what we call trunk A roads, also known as federal roads. But other roads are known as state roads. So before you complain about a particular road, that it has been constructed or not constructed, you need to find out whether it is a state road or federal road. And there's no rocket science but to make proper inquiries. In terms of health, the state government has general hospitals. It also has Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. So in the area of health, when it has to do with, let me go to general hospital, you are thinking of a state government. If you want to go to LUT, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, you are thinking of federal. So health, both state and federal, they have concurrent jurisdiction. If it is in transportation, land transportation, to a large extent, state, but If it has to do with within a federal road, federal. So it depends on the issue. If it comes to taxation, taxes, there are taxes that you have to pay to the state government. For instance, personal income tax has to be paid to the state government. Business development levy has to be paid to the state government. Withholding tax with respect to transactions involving individuals has to be paid to the state government. In a presidential system, the arms you have at the federal level, that's what you have at the state level. You have the executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary. So certain matters are pertainable to the state judiciary. So if it is a judicial matter, there are matters you just have to take to the state high court. They are not matters that fall within the legislative purview or the interpretative purview of the federal high court. So in that circumstance, for instance, if there is a dispute involving land in a state, you have to go to the state high court. So on matters affecting, all the matters I told you that the state government can do have to be legislated upon by the State House of Assembly. So just as we have the National Assembly, we have the State House of Assembly. But at the national, we have bicameral legislature. At the states, you have unicameral. So you don't have bicameral at the state level. You have only State House of Assembly. And their jurisdiction is limited within what happens in that state. So basically the states have ways they galvanize this thing, but the states on their own cannot fully give good governance without their cooperation with the federal government. But when you go to countries like Ghana that operate a unicameral legislature and operate they don't operate a federal system, a unitary type of government, and they operate a parliamentary system. Their system a bit differs. They also have provinces. They have their own regions, and their regions have limited powers, and they also have parliaments within those regions. But all of them look towards the national parliament, just as all our state houses of assembly look towards the National Assembly in certain things. But within their areas of competence, they are not answerable to the National Assembly, and they can challenge. But in a parliamentary system, almost all the other regions are answerable to the National Assembly. The obligations of a citizen include obeying the laws made by the state, paying his taxes as required by law, especially income taxes. And these are obligations that have been provided for in the Constitution. And nobody is expected to shirk it. In any case, it depends on the area. If you want to open a school, you want to open a hospital, you don't get approval, you are shirking your obligation. If you don't pay your taxes and levies, you are shirking your obligation. If you don't comply with the environmental sanitation, on a particular Saturday, the law says you just have to clean your environment. You refuse to do so, you are shirking your obligation.
Well, you're watching you.gov, and don't forget it's all about you and the government. Well, we've been talking to different experts on the issue of state government. Now we'll go get some responses from those on the street in the next segment, the street teacher segment. Stay tuned.
Every week on you.gov, we bring you opinions of experts in various fields of government. We also try to balance it out by bringing you opinions of people on the streets.
Elements of the coat of arms of Nigeria, peace and unity, all this love, peace and unity.
Okay.
It's red and white now.
The national anthem. I can try now, but it's been long.
Just try.
National anthem. I rise to compatriots. Are we?
Yes.
Nigeria's call will be gather our leaders' rights. I don't forget to.
Can you sing the national anthem?
No, I can't sing that.
What about the pledge?
I can't do that now.
So can you sing the national anthem?
That's serious.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be useful and honest. Oh, I've forgotten.
And that is what we call the street teacher. Stay tuned.
Estate is a place where I know many people are living inside, doing their business. Some are civil servants, doing whatever they are doing. You understand? Maybe some school people are there, pupils, students, scholars. They are doing their, how they will survive in life.
Estate as a location is where probably a group of people residing and working within a specific geographical location.
Well, the state comprises of people and community coming together to form and habitation.
A state is a sovereign and organized entity. A sovereign nation or an organized entity with people with the same culture, same affinity and interests and cultural values as well as political culture.
Interesting responses, I'm sure you agree. Well, we'll go on to the next segment now. That is the Tidbits segment. So stay tuned. I'm sure you've had an enlightening time here on u.gov. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And you can drop your comments on hashtag u.gov on the Love World Plus super user page on King's Chat. And we'll be glad to hear from you. Well, my name is Priscilla Fibrasima, and I look forward to seeing you same time next week, same station. Until then, stay blessed.